I'll start with myself. So my name's Chase Brown. I'm the regional sales manager for Fort Line Waterworks, focusing on geosynthetics and stormwater management. So welcome to this is a discussion on effective stormwater management. On this panel, we'll explore some innovative strategies and solutions to mitigate the growing challenges posed by urban runoff and climate change. Throughout our discussion, we'll dive into a range of topics, including green infrastructure, sustainable solutions, as well as community engagement. We'll dive into the complexities of stormwater management and uncover actionable strategies to build more sustainable and equitable communities for generations to come. So if you'd please join me in welcoming our esteemed panel of experts who bring a wealth of knowledge and experience to today's discussion. If you all could, we'll start with you, Bach. Just introduce who you are, what you do, and where you do it at.
All right, now I'm in LA, can't work the microphone. All right, I'm Bach McClure. I'm with Brevard County Stormwater program. We're doing basically anything that has to do with flood control or nutrient reduction in stormwater runoff, and also to the Indian River Lagoon, which is in our area, and also the St. Johns River. So we're 72 miles long, and we've got 4 coastlines. So it gets interesting.
Hi, I'm Patricia Roberts. I work with the City of Fort Lauderdale. I'm a certified floodplain manager. So what we do is we review at the planning stage, at the development review committee level, and then we move it into reviewing plans at the commercial and residential stage to make sure everything is compliant with FEMA and our local regulations and the Florida Building Code. And then we get into mitigation and things of that nature.
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. Alexander Zantraversa. I'm the Director of Planning and Sustainability at Jacksonville Transportation Authority. I'm kind of the odd one out on this panel, not directly working with water in any way, but excited to be able to share my experience and opportunity I've had to begin getting into that space. Just a little background on Jacksonville Transportation Authority and Jacksonville in general. Jacksonville and Duval County are consolidated city-county government, and it spans over 850 square miles. Of that, 35% of it is water, and St. Johns River runs through there, and all of its tributaries connect to and around the urban core and its surrounding neighborhoods. So mitigation of stormwater and innovative stormwater practices have been critical for the city itself, as well as all of the public agencies that are making these efforts and have some play in infrastructure. And in our case, that is multimodal transportation infrastructure, as well as roadways. JTA started off as a expressway authority, designing and constructing bridges and roads. We still maintain a piece of that function and through some of our programs like Complete Streets, as well as our transit infrastructure projects.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samuel Zamacona, Public Works Director for the City of North Miami Beach. North Miami Beach is a municipality in the northeast section of Miami-Dade County. We're adjacent to Biscayne Bay, and we have a major stormwater issue, and we're here to discuss that a little bit further. I want to welcome our Commissioner, Daniela Jean. She's with us here. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, so this problem of water is not something that's always been as forefront talked about as it has in the past, as it does now. We'll start with you, Sam. What's one thing you'd like to see done to improve the effective management of stormwater?
Well, effective stormwater management includes a tier strategic planning. First, we have to explore different methods of construction, analyzing in order to obtain a desired goal and meet the desired goal. And that, I think, is the best way. Based on funding, you may be able to do first stage. Additional funding comes next year. We're able to expand as the opportunities arise.
Zan, same thing. Do you have one thing you'd like to see done?
Yeah, and I'll say two. And there's been a lot of great discussion today about resilience and the planning it takes to be resilient. First and foremost, it's being proactive. It's understanding that there is a problem at hand, and we need to plan and design our way into a future that can manage that. And the second is being creative and really looking at kind of innovative ways that we can start incorporating low impact development and green solutions to stormwater into a variety of different project types. From a transportation agency standpoint, I mentioned complete streets, enhancing those to be really green streets and allowing those to be a mechanism for stormwater management, but also looking at all of our facilities, transit stops, anything that traditionally has hard infrastructure is an opportunity to address stormwater. And so that's really the approach that we're taking through the development of sustainable design standards, sustainable landscape and irrigation standards, and then checklists and policies that will help drive our construction projects to incorporate these best management practices for each and every type of our facilities.
Okay, I'll stick with you. Up in Jacksonville, what's something that you've implemented that has shown success in those practices?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the Complete Streets program is one of our pride and joys of the JTA. Again, a program that's been around for some time and kind of unique to transit agencies. Through that, we've been able to coordinate with the city of Jacksonville, as well as other partners, to really move into that space of green infrastructure. The other big one that's currently in the works and in various stages of development is the Emerald Trail project, a multi-use path that it will, in its full build out, will be about 30 miles throughout Jacksonville's urban core, as well as some of the surrounding neighborhoods, acting as a multimodal circulator, but in its true capacity, acting as a kind of resilience or green infrastructure project. It incorporates a ton of green space, allows for the development or addressing two critical creek systems. We heard earlier that some people have found ways to kind of channelize or seawall their way out of solutions. That was also the case in Jacksonville. These are creek systems where they've barriered both sides and narrowed them down, and it causes severe flooding for some of those neighborhoods. What the Emerald Trail project seeks to do is return those creek systems to their natural embankments, alleviating a lot of that flooding issue that's impacting those communities, while also acting as that open space, recreational space, and multimodal transportation option.
Awesome. So we've heard about a couple different options down here that have been implemented or are currently working on being implemented. Patricia, what's a valuable lesson that you think you can be implemented on a larger scale?
To piggyback off of what you said with low impact development, I think one way to reduce the impact of like stormwater from when you're looking at new development is to incorporate low impact development and look at ways to reduce the rate of increased runoff before it leaves the property, which is what you've all discussed. And also, when you're dealing with the developer, look at stormwater detention on the property. So this is a way to store the water, and you can hold it to reuse later. And that also reduces the rate of stormwater leaving the property. So to sort of sum this all up, it's a way to develop sustainable communities and sustainable practices, and then also using green infrastructure. So green infrastructure is dealing with green rooftop development, your shrubs and trees and landscaping. You can incorporate swells, which will take the stormwater off the road into that swell and hold it there. And then you can harvest rainwater and reusing it at a later time, and that will cut down on the excess water going into your drainage stormwater systems. And then also rain gardens. To conclude, this is my last thing I'll discuss. Permeable pavements is another option because permeable pavements is the single most effective low-impact development strategy. And it also contains the pollutants on your property where you don't have it going into your rivers and your watersheds and your estuaries. So
Okay, awesome, thanks. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what that was, but it seems to be done now. Bach, I'll go with you. What's one of the biggest obstacles you faced on any of your projects or anything that you have coming up?
So two things. One is, I mean, knowing where your right-of-way is, right? We don't, I mean, right-of-ways are a lot of times not surveyed in until you go to do a project. So you're sitting there, you've got you've got the project designed, it's ready to go out to bid, except for, surveying the limits of construction, and wait a minute, that roadside ditch, half of it's on private property. So now you're stuck with either getting easements, maintenance mapping the sucker, which nobody likes, or giving up on the project and moving to another location. And so knowing where your stuff is a huge obstacle. And that goes to your infrastructure and your utilities, anything that's going to be, all right, where is everything? And how sure are you that it's there? And our system has, our GIS system has a variety of sources for our inventory. Everything from the guy that went out in the field and drew it on a map and it came back to the office and got mapped in, to, current survey with GPS coordinates down to 100th of a foot. And knowing that what level of that data is in your database is really important. When did it come in? And what was the source? And what's the level of accuracy? Metadata is not going to cut it because all of that gets dumped into one data set. So.
Okay, Patricia, same question. Any obstacles you face, and I'll open up to you guys as well after.
the biggest obstacle is people think when you're dealing with floodwaters that once you get that base flood elevation and you're designing a project, that's what it's going to stay at. But when you get large rain events like we had back in April, we had 26 inches of rain in less than 24 hours. There's no way for your system to handle that. So that's educating people to understand that just because the base flood elevation is 6 and you meet your freeboard, you could still have flooding with large rain events. And our weather conditions are getting phenomenally worse than what we've seen in the past. So just, you know, educating the public to understand, I think.
Yeah, and obstacles obviously are an important part 'cause it seems to be everywhere you turn. Any that stick out to you guys?
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, it's really taking that education to the next level. From my role in the planning and sustainability world, developing policies and standards, bringing along our construction and engineering team, and ensuring that they understand kind of the importance and how to accomplish the tasks that we've laid out through our standards and policies has really been critical. So, you know, our team has been working kind of feverishly to make sure that they've been brought up to speed and that they understand how to incorporate these standards and policies into each and every one of their projects. And it does require a bit of attention, but I think it really proves to be a really successful way of doing that.
For North Miami Beach, one of the problems that we face, or challenges, we like to see it as a challenge, is our topographical, the topographical features of the project. One of the projects that comes to mind is Highland Village, which is a low-income neighborhood that's trailer park, and is the lowest elevation of our city, adjacent to Biscayne Bay. So the major constraints or major challenges is that because there's no dewatering allowed, we're going to have to be working on the wet. Another issue is the proximity of the structures. We have a very tight right of way, so vibration monitoring is crucial. And obviously, we have to meet the environmental requirements through the project and afterwards as well. And this project involves the implementation of flapper valves or that, and also 3 additional stormwater structures. Another issue, of course, is our funding, right? Funny I say that, but on the way over here this morning, we were awarded the state through appropriations. The FDAP has awarded us a grant for this specific project, but that's just the first phase. We still have phase 2 and phase 3. So those are all the challenges that we face.
Okay, and Bach, Patricia brought up some of those storm events that keep getting larger and larger. You know, what's an approach that we can evolve to better help out with that?
So, and we're all going through the same thing. Is like, okay, we're designing. Patricia's got people designing, modeling. What's the 100-year event? Well, that's today. We've got. There's atmospheric scientists that are modeling things, saying that our 100-year storm event is going to become the 50-year storm event in the not too distant future. Total rainfall is forecast to stay about the same in Florida, but the intensity of the events is going to go up. And if the average is staying the same and the intensity is going up, that means that we're going to have longer dry periods and then intense storms. And we're going to just have to deal with that. So, but not being uncertain about what's coming doesn't mean that we wait to get better data. We have to start planning this stuff now. The other thing that seems to be, it comes down to the human aspect, right? So if I tell you that a project's going to include, and I sketched out some numbers, a project's going to do, has a benefit cost, will benefit, pull people $200 million worth of property out of the flood zone. And another project's going to pull $150 million out. Your immediate reaction is, let's do the $200 million. Well, that's nice, but if that's $102 million homes, and the $150 million project is $300,000 homes, which one benefits a lot more people? Right. So we need to take the residents and the people affected and our critical infrastructure into account when we're looking at where we want to spend our money. We don't want to bail out. The classic illusion. I'm Coastal County. Don't want to bail out the millionaires on the beach for the poor schmo that's working at 7-Eleven or Wendy's. Inland, right? They all have. Everybody has value, and identifying your projects just based on total property value it's not a nice way to go. And the feds are starting to apply additional funding to, environmental justice sort of things. So there are grants out there to help address those issues that may not be as high a priority for the local political climate. Let's put it that way.
Okay, yeah, and I've always found, at least on a lot of these jobs, water tends to be one of the last things thought about, and also the first problem that arises. Is that something, I'll open this up for all of you, is that something that you see changing, or is that always going to be the problem, or how do we get over that hurdle? And whoever wants to.
Just educating people, just educate the public. Just because it says your property's in a flood zone, not in a flood zone, doesn't mean it's not going to flood. And just because the flood line on the map says, hey, the flood zone stops here and this becomes you're out, Mother Nature does, he or she would, let's be politically correct, does whatever they want to do. You have to understand with the weather conditions and environmental conditions, and you have parking lots that are complete cement that should be, you should look at maybe doing landscaping or swells to reduce the runoff. We just have to educate and look at ways to be more sustainable and resilient for our communities and think outside the box. That's basically, I think, what we need to look at.
Yeah, I've got, our area, we've got a repetitive flood neighborhood. It's multiple neighborhoods that aren't even in an approximate zone on the FEMA flood maps, and yet we know it goes under all the time. We went in and did some of the recommended improvements because that's all we could afford at the time, and people were selling to the newcomers saying, "Oh, the county came in and fixed everything." We never told them that. So, yeah, a continual outreach, and we're not, I mean, when we do a flood insurance study, we're not trying to take away somebody's right or make them get flood insurance. We're just telling you, you're probably going to go under if it rains hard. If you don't want to know that, don't listen to us. But it's, getting that out to the public and getting them to understand, it can be a challenge.
I'll add to Patricia's point is, I don't know if it was an afterthought, but our solution was building our way out of the problems that we created. And generally it was with gray infrastructure. And so a lot of the times we're sacrificing, natural greenscape for infrastructure projects and then using gray infrastructure to be the solution to that problem, or, generally just going about and doing ponds as our solution when there's a plethora of either nature-based solutions or green infrastructure or low impact design that we can incorporate into these projects from the start, that would allow you not to have to go back and kind of build your way out of these problems that are occurring.
When mentioning low-income neighborhoods, the Department of Commerce has a great grant program specifically focused for implementation in the low-income communities, and North Miami Beach has taken a great advantage for this program, and not only for water, for wastewater, but we're looking into the stormwater grant program as well.
Yeah, and I don't. One of my mentors told me one time it's the E3 approach, which it sounds like works everywhere, which is everywhere, everyone, and everything. Like it just takes it all to get these projects done. I will say we do have a little time left. If you guys have anything else you want to touch on, I know we're not supposed to do questions, but since we won't go over, if anybody has a question, feel free to ask away, or if anything you guys want to touch on.
Chase, just to that point, the 3 E's, I think it's also critical that we look to partnerships. If you're not kind of the expert in low impact development or green infrastructure, find somebody in your community who is, and look to partner on those types of projects. I think that what's been really successful for the JTA is finding partners in the city of Jacksonville and nonprofits, Groundwork Jacksonville, in the Emerald Trail project to each kind of take our piece and do what we do well. And with that, we see this partnership recently in October. We signed a MOU between those 3 entities for the Emerald Trail, and Groundwork Jacks is going to do the public engagement and do the planning work and do most of the design. JTA is going to come in, review the design, and then be the oversight of the construction of the project. And so we've identified our strengths and are working together to really deliver this solution that's going to have a tremendous benefit to the community from multiple aspects. It's, on one hand, reducing greenhouse gas emissions through the use of, alternative modes of transportation and active modes of transportation like bicycling and walking, but also being that green infrastructure to help alleviate some of the flooding risks that those communities are seeing, and helping bring down insurance costs and things of that nature in those neighborhoods that have traditionally suffered from flood events and natural disaster.
It's a great point you mentioned, partnering. The American Society of Civil Engineers has one of the best institutes that I'm a proud board member of, which is the Utility Engineering and Surveying Institute. There are great partners for not only municipalities, but also us professionals and vendors that provide services for stormwater remediation. We're able to bring together in all of our events everyone to the table, designers, contractors, municipalities, and funding agencies as well. I really recommend that you get involved with ASCE, UESI, Utility Engineering and Surveying Institute.
So one of the things I noticed is that a fair number of the audience is from the commercial side. So we're talking about all the problems we're seeing. There are also opportunities for your businesses, right? The sea level rise issue, right? you've got to deal with it. The increased rainfall, we're going to have to deal with it. The nutrient issues. I mean, LID. I mean, the techniques and the technologies that are out there right now aren't the end of the road. We're just scraping the surface. So it's an opportunity, not only for the established firms to get out there and start finding creative ways, but also for the newcomers in the arena, the small business guy that says, I could do that better, to actually carve out a niche for themselves and come up with something that's really top notch that we don't have right now. I'm constantly throwing ideas out to vendors. When I go to conferences and shows, I'll talk to the vendors about, gee, I wish you guys would. So if you're the public side, take your problems that your folks are reporting to you and tell the vendors. Let them put their brain power on coming up with the next solution. So.
Right, and with the CRS credit, with the community rating system program, if you can get credit, like when you have your stakeholders, your HOAs, bring them to the table. If they're in older developments, try to develop like rain gardens, things of that nature. If there's an area that doesn't have stormwater, that takes the water off their road because they're older houses, start talking about the rain gardens, the swells, things of that nature that could help that particular homeowner until the city or county can come in and start doing stormwater, the piping and stuff they need to get it off the road. And then it would help your community because it will help your CRS points. Just a thought.
Awesome, guys. Thanks. Anything else, or you can think of?
On kind of what Bach was alluding to is, and we're seeing it a lot more in the federal funding that's coming down, and workforce development has become a major and required component in a lot of those grant programs. We're seeing NOAA grants on the transportation side. A lot of the FTA related funding has a component that's necessary or required for workforce development. And I think that's an opportunity here for workforce development and green infrastructure. And that helps both the community, the private side that's doing the work, but then also the public side that needs that work to be done. And I think there's a huge opportunity there that should be explored.
Awesome. Thanks for coming out, guys. Appreciate it.